Marcus Bell was a janitor at Jefferson Elementary in rural Alabama. He swept floors, fixed leaky pipes, and cleaned up messes left by kids whose parents barely noticed the invisible man who made sure their classrooms were spotless. Marcus didn't mind. He was a father of two, Amira, age 7, and Malik, age 5, and his whole world revolved around them. Every dollar he made went to their lunch boxes, their worn-out sneakers, and the tiny one-bedroom trailer they called home. Their mother had left years ago, saying she didn't sign up for poverty and diapers, and Marcus had never seen her since. Mornings were early, nights were cold, and sometimes dinner was whatever Marcus could scrounge together from the discount bin at the gas station. But there was love in that trailer. So much love, it pulsed through the walls like music. Every bedtime story, every silly joke, every hug. They were poor in money, but rich in something far more valuable. Or so Marcus thought, until the knock came. It was 6:45 a.m. He was getting the kids ready for school. Malik was brushing his teeth, and Amira was tying her own shoes. Marcus had just taught her how last week. He opened the door to find two people in stiff suits and cold expressions. "Mr. Bell?" the woman asked, flashing a badge. "We're from Child Protective Services." Marcus blinked, confused. "Is there a problem?" "We've received reports of neglect," she said, already stepping inside. Marcus was stunned. "Wait, what? From who?" "That information is confidential," said the man beside her. He had a clipboard and the kind of eyes that didn't blink unless absolutely necessary. "We need to evaluate the environment immediately." They scanned the trailer like predators. The stained carpet, the dishes in the sink, the broken heater wrapped in duct tape. "Is this where your children sleep?" the woman asked, pointing at the mattress on the floor. Marcus nodded. "It's warm enough. They cuddle together." "That's not adequate," she said, scribbling notes. "Do they have enough food?" Marcus opened the pantry. It was almost bare. 2 cans of beans, a box of crackers, some apples. "I get paid Friday," he said quickly. "We'll stock up then." But it was too late. The man had already muttered something into his radio. 10 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up. Amira clutched her father's leg. Malik started crying. "Daddy, what's going on?" "Don't worry," Marcus said, heart pounding. "Everything's okay." But it wasn't okay. They took the kids. A social worker held Amira's hand as she screamed for her dad. Malik tried to run back to him, but the officer blocked the way. Marcus stood frozen, powerless, watching his babies disappear into the back seat of a car that didn't belong in their lives. The door slammed. The engine started, and just like that, the heart of Marcus Bell's world was gone. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat in the silence of the trailer, staring at their empty beds, the crayons still scattered on the table, Malik's favorite truck beside the sink. How could this be happening? He hadn't hit his kids. He hadn't abandoned them. He worked, he cooked, he loved. He did everything he could, even if it wasn't enough for people who measured parenting in dollars, not devotion. The next morning, he called the county office, demanding answers. They told him the children were placed in temporary foster care, and he'd be assigned a court date within the month. They said he could file a petition for visitation, but warned him it might be denied pending a full home investigation. Marcus hung up and screamed, a sound so raw it shook the rusted trailer walls. He didn't have money for a lawyer. He didn't even have internet at home to look up what to do. So he walked 8 miles to the public library. He sat at a computer and searched how to get your kids back from CPS. The results were a maze of legal jargon, horror stories, and broken hope. But he took notes anyway. He scribbled everything down in a worn notebook and made a plan. Get a second job, fix the heater, clean the trailer from top to bottom, show the judge he was stable, responsible, and above all, deserving. Marcus started working nights at a local diner, mopping floors and washing dishes after his school janitor shift. He slept maybe 2 hours a night, but he didn't complain. He fixed the heater, borrowed a bunk bed from a neighbor, filled the pantry with food. Every dollar was a brick in the road back to his kids. When court day came, he wore his only suit, the same one he wore to his mother's funeral, and stood before a judge with trembling hands. He told the truth. He said he wasn't perfect, but he was present. He said the trailer wasn't much, but it was home, and he begged, yes, begged, to have his children back. The CPS lawyer presented pictures of the trailer before repairs, the empty fridge, the mattress on the floor. These conditions are not fit for young children, she argued. Marcus interrupted. That was before. Now it's better. I've made it better. But the judge only nodded and said they needed more time, a full review, 4 more weeks. In the meantime, the judge said, supervised visitation will be allowed twice a month. Marcus exhaled in relief. It wasn't what he wanted, but at least he could see them again. The first visit was in a bland government building with gray walls and plastic chairs. The kids ran to him the second they saw him. Amira's hair was braided differently now, tight and unfamiliar. Malik had a bruise on his elbow. Where did that come from? Marcus asked quickly. Amira shrugged. Our foster mom says we shouldn't whine. Marcus clenched his fists. The social worker in the corner was watching, jotting notes on a clipboard. But Marcus didn't say anything. He just hugged his baby so tight they could barely breathe. I'm getting you back, he whispered. I promise. The weeks crawled by like cold molasses. Marcus kept working both jobs, showing up for every supervised visit, bringing snacks, new clothes, and school supplies. He even found a free legal clinic and begged a law student to help him navigate the system. Together, they built a case file, proof of employment, receipts for home repairs, character letters from coworkers, and photos of the now tidy, child-ready trailer. At the next hearing, Marcus stood straighter. He spoke with a quiet power, not rage, not desperation, but conviction. He explained how he'd changed things, how he'd built a safe home, how he woke up every day at 4 a.m. just to keep fighting. The law student spoke on his behalf. The judge reviewed everything in silence. Then she said something Marcus would never forget. This court finds that Mr. Marcus Delaney has demonstrated sufficient improvement in living conditions and parental capacity. Further, there is no evidence of abuse or neglect that warrants continued separation. Full custody shall be reinstated immediately. Marcus gasped. His knees buckled. His hands shook. The CPS lawyer tried to object, but the judge raised her hand firmly. Children belong with their parents unless there is real danger. That's not the case here. That evening, Marcus drove to the foster home in a borrowed car. His kids were waiting on the porch with trash bags full of their clothes. Amira ran to him again, sobbing into his chest. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. Malik just wrapped his arms around Marcus's neck and wouldn't let go. Back home, the trailer looked different, somehow smaller but warmer. Marcus made them grilled cheese and soup. They sat on the floor in a circle, holding hands, not saying much, but feeling everything. Marcus tucked them into bed that night, kissed their foreheads, and whispered, "This is your home. Whatever happens, we're together now." But the story didn't end there. A local journalist who had overheard the courtroom verdict wrote a piece about Marcus, a Black father wrongly separated from his children, who fought back and won. The article went viral. People started reaching out, offering donations, job opportunities, and housing help. A nonprofit offered him a spot in a job training program. A retired lawyer emailed to say he'd represent Marcus pro bono if CPS ever tried anything again. The community rallied, not out of pity, but out of respect. A year later, Marcus had moved to a bigger apartment. He had one full-time job as a school facilities coordinator and a side hustle selling handmade furniture he crafted in his tiny garage. Amira joined a dance club. Malik joined Little League. And every night before bed, Marcus read them stories. Ones where the hero wasn't rich or powerful, but determined and full of love. One night, Amira asked, "Daddy, why did they take us away?" Marcus paused. He looked at her and said, "Sometimes the system makes mistakes, especially when they don't see the whole picture or when they don't understand our kind of love. But we showed them, didn't we?" She nodded. Marcus smiled, tucked her in, and whispered, "They thought we were broken, but we weren't. We were just waiting to be seen."